All right, so I'm going to be explaining the informational and practical together because they go hand in hand in my case, but more so the practical or the practical side. So what I'm doing is being mindful of your strengths. So what I did is first I give directions on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being your weakest and 10 being your strongest. Rate each of these strengths. These are strengths that a company that I'm working with came up with that their team is strongest in. So that's why I chose these particular strengths. So beforehand, before the presentation, I actually had the company figure out their strengths using something like Strength Finders. You've heard of that book. You can use a lot of different things to figure out what your company's best strengths are as a team, individual and team together. And from that, they go ahead and they are scoring themselves. Now, before all that, though, we went over mindfulness and what it is. So, deliberate, non-judgmental, compassionate, awareness, present moment thoughts. So the biggest takeaway is really being aware, being self-aware of what you bring to the organization, to the team, and what areas that you can work on that are important to the team. So all of these are important to the team, and some people do far better in some areas than others. And I put this quote from the book, which I thought was really powerful. You don't have to control your thoughts, you have to stop letting them control you. So just being really mindful of your thought process while you're going ahead and evaluating yourself in each of the areas from scale 1 to 10. And then, part 2, and this is really where the practical side comes in hand, is really writing down and being reflective about the process. So being reflective in selecting the most important strength that shows up, or the strength that you find to be the most powerful in your life most often as a theme in your life. So the participants really reflect and are mindful and aware of why that might be the case as they're kind of describing that strength and maybe why it's been showing up so often in their life. So a lot of times we have qualities, but we're not really aware of why those qualities show up, why it becomes natural for us to bring that to the table. Select one of your top strengths, reflect how it's been able to support you in your peak performance. So that kind of goes hand in hand. How does it help you really perform? Especially in this setting, this is for a team, an organization, and they have to know how that helps them be a better teammate and better for their organization. And then next is which one they score lowest on and reflect how they can improve this in the next week. So for example, when I go about teaching this, I give an example of, one of the areas that, I score low in is being compassionate. So being compassionate is difficult for me. What is one thing I can do to help myself be more compassionate? And being more present, being more aware helps me do that, helps me be more compassionate. So practicing mindfulness, when I do that, I notice that I actually do attune more to people's feelings. So it helps me be more compassionate. So I gave that example. I'll pick one area you scored higher strengths that you scored high on, and how can they become a weakness? So one of the things I score high on is like achievement, competitiveness. Score very high on that, but that can get in the way because sometimes I'll do anything to improve at all costs, which can lead to burnout. Like I overwork. I don't find time for balance because I'm always trying to achieve and strive and be competitive. So I gave that example. And then they take the time to write out kind of their explanation for each of these so they're more mindful of their strengths.